Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator, Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by an impact fee technician who lists their favourite movie as A Nightmare on Elm Street and favourite TV show as Golden Girls. Welcome back to the show, Corrina Mabey.
What's up? How's it going?
It is raining and gross after it was hot and gross last week.
Sounds like it's my type of weather because right now it's cold. I'm doing conversions so you don't have to wonder. It's 13 right now over here, and it's between 40 to 80% chance rain the next 2 days.
Lovely. At least you don't live in Kansas or Buffalo.
Yeah, fuck that.
It's
Our low.
I saw the temperatures there. It was what, minus 20 or something? I was like, no.
It was disgusting. Our low on Tuesday and Wednesday is 4 and 5.
Gross.
Celsius, by the way. Not like I just gotta remind people that watch on my side of the world that I am doing conversions for you. So
Yeah, there was
it's just fucking cold.
at the Chiefs game, I think they said it was 0 Fahrenheit, so it was like minus 20 Celsius. And there was a dude in the crowd with no shirt on.
They're dedicated. They do some weird fucking shit at football games. Just saying, they don't care how cold it is. But I did see pictures on like some TikTok like compilation of like it said you buy like a $20 beer and the moment you open it this happens, and they were like instantly frozen. And I was like, oh, that really sucks.
Yep.
Yeah, that really sucks.
The topless guy was like standing in the crowd, and it like just because of his body heat, there was like steam coming off him. It's just like, Jesus,
that's hilarious.
That's gross. And then I saw a bunch of people going to like 7-Elevens and stuff and grabbing a bottle of water out of the fridge and just like,
and it just freezes.
It freezes instantly in the bottle, and they're like, oh well, guess I can't have that.
Yeah, it's bonkers. I like watching videos like that from like people in Canada where like they get like a boiling pot of water and then go outside and go to throw it, and it just turns into like dust.
Yep.
Like
instant vaporize. Like, oh, gross.
Yeah, it's fucking, it's not fun, but I would rather have it be cold than hot, honestly, because you can only take off so many layers before it becomes illegal. So,
yeah, but then there's cold, and then there's that cold.
Yeah. I like a comfortable cold.
Minus 20, I'm not leaving the house. I've got the heater on and blankets.
Yeah, well, that's when like people have like space heaters and like heated blankets and shit on them too.
So, no, thank you. But we're not here to chat about the cold weather. Today we're bridging the multiverse as we welcome Marvel's newest show, Echo, into the fold, as it simultaneously brings the Marvel Netflix slate into the fold of the MCU, as well as like continuing the Disney Plus canon as well. It's a very complex scenario with this show in terms of the history of these characters in this universe. So this one, it follows the events of, following on from the events of Hawkeye in New York City, with Maya Lopez being pursued by Wilson Fisk's organization, leading to her returning to her hometown in Oklahoma, where she then must come to terms with her past whilst reconnecting with her Native American roots and embracing her family and community. Starring Alaqua Cox as Maya Lopez, aka Echo, Chase Spencer as Henry Black Crow Lopez, Tantu Cardinal as Chula, and then the other main character, Vincent D'Onofrio, returning as Wilson Fisk / Kingpin. And then we get a little cameo from Charlie Cox as Daredevil. What did you think of this show before we dive into the full 5-episode review?
So to preface, I never watched Daredevil. I never watched Hawkeye. So, and I get a lot of fucking shit, not about the Hawkeye thing, about the Daredevil thing. So my exposure to the Netflix original Netflix Marvel series shows was Jessica Jones and Punisher. Um, and honestly, like,
Two of the good
Punisher is my
options.
favorite thing in the world. Yeah, Punisher was probably my favorite Marvel series ever, and then people keep telling me to watch Daredevil, so I will eventually get around to watching that.
Well, luckily for
So
you now, it's
because
all
I did
been
not watch
folded into the Disney
Converted,
Plus canon, so it's on Disney now. It's been
yeah,
included
so
in the
because I did
timeline.
not watch, well, because I didn't watch either of those, my exposure to Daredevil was in the cameo that happened in Spider-Man, and that was about it. Other than the horrible Ben Affleck film that we don't talk about.
That would have taken
Um,
away all the excitement of that cameo.
yeah,
It's just a dude
yeah,
showing up that like catches a brick thrown through a window.
yeah. Like, I knew of him, I just never watched it, and I kind of feel like I was at a disadvantage going into this show because of that fact. Um, but I mean, I'll get around to it eventually. But I mean, I think that they probably did a good job of incorporating it. Maybe, I don't know. There was also that random cameo from Hawkeye in this first episode too, which kind of threw me off.
Yeah, uh,
So yeah, I was kind of all over the place when I started watching this show. I also did not realize that the lead character was going to be signing through the whole show. So when I first started watching this, I was like, "Oh, I left the subtitles on. Let me shut those off." And then I realized I cannot shut them off. They are integrated into this show because they are necessary.
mhm. Yeah, I think having not watched Daredevil, I don't think that's a huge disadvantage because he really is
Hmm.
in this very, very briefly. It doesn't really follow on from his story. Having not watched Hawkeye, I think, is a bigger disadvantage because you get much more of Echo and Maya Lopez's sort of backstory in that, in terms of how she integrates with Kingpin and his whole organization. Like, you kind of, this one we're jumping into, okay, she's like trying to get out of it, whereas
Hmm.
the Hawkeye series is her like in that fold and sort of explains why she wants to get out.
Okay. Okay. That would make sense. But I mean, it's fine. I caught on eventually, and like after I got past the first episode, I kind of was just like, all right, well, I can vibe with this. But yeah, I do feel like if you haven't watched Hawkeye, a lot of people might be at a disadvantage
Yeah,
going into this just blindly.
I would recommend watching Hawkeye before diving into Echo, even though
Yes.
this uh, Echo is the first Marvel show under the new Marvel Spotlight banner, which is was announced in November last year, and it was basically a way to focus on more quote unquote grounded, character driven stories that are sort
Hmm.
of less involved in impacting the larger MCU canon narrative overall. It's more like, let's just focus in on this one character. And it was
Hmm.
created as a way to indicate that these, because they're not impacting the overall canon, there isn't as much need to watch the Marvel Spotlight series, which I think is kind of a bad idea. Like, to
It's a
telegraph
very
that you don't
complicated
really need
thing.
to watch this, like, that disincentivizes people to watch it. But I think they're also looking at that as people are getting Marvel burnout and they're not watching all of the shows anyway. So let's really pinpoint, this one is canon. This one is going to play out in the movies as well. So you need to watch this one. This one, not so much.
Hmm.
Watch this one if you're just interested.
And I feel like they're almost kind of shooting themselves in the foot because in general, the Marvel series that have been putting out have not been the best, and the fact that like now they're just kind of adding more confusion to that entire realm, I feel like it might backfire on them significantly. Because there's not going to be a ton of people, like, for instance, if my mom was going to be watching Echo, she'd be like, oh, it's a Marvel show, okay, eventually she's going to pop up in all the Marvel movies or something like that, just like all these other characters, where so there's going to be a good majority of people who don't think that way through, and they're just going to go in there thinking that it's going to be all part of one giant, thing at the end.
Yeah,
Again.
and I think that's why they've put this Spotlight series banner on this show to be like, if you watch this, don't expect this character to pop up in a movie. Like they might, but they're
But
not.
it's not
They're
guaranteed.
not a guaranteed like we saw with like Moon Knight and the new Captain America and stuff like that. Like these aren't guaranteed to pop up in the future movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one is, as I mentioned, it's the 10th series in the MCU, but first under the Spotlight banner. It's also the first MCU series to be released under the binge model of let's put all 5 episodes out at once. And it was released simultaneously on Disney Plus and Hulu because of the MA rating.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is also the first Marvel show to get that rating, right?
Yeah.
Under like the
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, they've all been PG previously, and
Something like that.
this one earned it too. Like there are some pretty brutal action sequences.
I guess because I don't look at it that way. Like in my head, an MA rating is more like
That's because you're
sexualized, but I think
yeah.
that's like the American in my. I think that's the American rating system in me because when people think MA, I'm just like, oh yeah, like there's gonna be sequences and like brutal beheadings or something like that.
Yeah.
Not oh hey, like I killed a couple people violently.
Yeah, that's because you're thinking MA in like the horror realm. You're thinking like Saw, torture porn is MA. But
yeah,
it's also
this
in the US,
like
that's a very broad
PG-13 moment for me.
Yeah,
like...
MA is very broad over there. That's why like we have G, which is general, PG,
right,
parental guidance, M, which is like recommended for 15 plus. No. I don't know what M is actually. MA is 15 plus. And then we get R ratings, which are like 18 plus. They're like I think Saw actually got a R potentially rating here. And then you get the X, and that's like the adult only content.
Yeah, we do G, PG, PG-13, R, and then NC-17 is the adult film one.
Yes,
but
I think ours
are very strange.
Ours are a little bit more defined. Like if it has this thing, it has to be M, and then if it goes beyond a certain point, then it's MA.
Yeah, because I remember it was like a big to do when Marvel was like saying, or when Marvel came out with like the Avengers movie, and it was like PG-13 ratings and stuff like that. Because like in Guardians, Rocket drops drops douchebag randomly in the first 5 minutes, and it's like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
but
yeah, I think
for me,
I think your ratings are like you can say this so many times before it gets like flagged. I think ours is like if you swear, it's M. Like you say it once, it's M.
Yeah, no, like that's why, like, it's for me to have this be like an MA rating. It's just very strange to me that I got that just because she does violently kill people. But again, I'm thinking in American terms, so that's on me.
I assume Blade will get an MA rating as well, and
I would, yeah. If it doesn't, I will be disappointed. We'll put it that way, because the movies themselves were rated R. Deadpool's a rated R film, both of them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, because I mean,
he swears a lot.
Fucking talking about, yeah, he compares the guy compares him to a fucking nutsack.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the Daredevil one, Deadpool one should be highly rated. The new Daredevil series should be pretty violent as well. And yeah, Blade has to be right up there as well because that's got to be hyper violent.
Yeah, if Blade doesn't meet that mark, like if Echo gets a more strict rating or like thing than Blade does, I will be highly disappointed and I probably won't watch it.
Yeah, if Blade comes out as a PG rating, it's gonna be like, what the hell?
I'll be like, all right, cool. So it's a Teletubbies version of Blade. Great, awesome.
Yeah. No. So yeah, and then under this Spotlight series, there's one more series announced so far. Wonder Man starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen as an actor slash stunt person who gains superpowers and becomes the hero known as Wonder Man. Be interesting to see how that goes. I've never heard of that character, so we'll see.
I was gonna say I don't follow the Marvel comics very closely, so all of these random side characters, just for instance, Echo, I had no idea who Echo was. So if she was featured in comics, I wouldn't know it. Same with this Wonder Man character.
Yep.
Also, to be fair, I didn't even know who the fuck Moon Knight was until the series got announced, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck it is, but okay.
I had such high hopes for Moon Knight and then left kind of disappointed.
We're not going to talk about it. Yeah, it's bad.
And then the last production note I have on Echo, this was initially planned to be 6 episodes, but then they scrapped the final episode due to budget and writing issues, which I don't think it needed anymore.
No, I was actually, when you told me it was only 5 episodes, that surprised me. And then when you were also telling me that all 5 dropped at one time, that was another thing that surprised me. So I was very thrown for a loop on all ends of that aspect for this show.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it needed an extra episode.
Like we maybe could have got an extra like half hour, 40 minutes in them like forming their little like ragtag group to complete the mission at the end of the season. It kind of felt like they were all like on their own paths and then somehow just came together. We didn't get like
that's
planning stage.
Yeah, that's another thing we'll talk about further in this review, because there are a lot of moments where that happened, unfortunately, for me with this series.
And then on the casting, what did you think of Alakwa Cox as Maya Lopez and Echo?
I liked her a lot. I think she did great. Honestly, the actors themselves, I really did appreciate, especially, I'm not sure if they actually like knew American Sign Language prior to doing this, or if they had to like learn it for these roles. But I feel like they all really took their roles to heart and kind of, did justice to the culture that they were representing. So,
yeah, the fun fact, Alakwa definitely knew sign language beforehand because she was legitimately born deaf.
Oh, okay.
So she's actually deaf. She's actually a leg amputee as well, with a leg. So they sort of incorporated that into her character.
Okay.
And I also read that a bunch of the cast learnt sort of very rudimentary sign language, so that first day on set, they could all say hello and welcome in sign language to her to like welcome her in, which is really cool.
Well, good on them for like being totally inclusive then, because we've seen it so many times in different films where they cast people who do not actually have those kind of things. So the fact that they were able to incorporate an actual amputee, and she is also deaf, so that's fantastic. I'm really glad that they decided to do that.
Yeah, and I thought she was fantastic in this role, like especially because I guess for her being legitimately deaf, it isn't really a thing, but like if they'd cast an actor with hearing, I think playing a silent protagonist would have been really tough, because you kind of have to convey all your emotions through your face. But I think because she's lived her life that way, it was relatively just normal and how she is all the time. But I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as authentic.
Especially because this was basically her first like major role. It's like the same as
it's fantastic.
The girl that played Miss Marvel.
I didn't watch Miss Marvel, so don't come at me for that one either. I'm just failing all over with these Marvel shows. Yeah. I told you, I'm just not.
Aman Vellani. It was. She played Ms. Marvel, and that was her first acting role ever. And I think she's probably one of the best characters they have in the MCU at the moment. And I think Alakwa Cox is also on that similar level, where first like major role and absolutely killed it. So I do like that the MCU for some of these lesser known characters, they're not going, oh, let's just go and chuck in like Taylor Swift in this role just because we know it'll get a bunch of views. Like they're casting unknowns who are doing phenomenal jobs in the role.
Absolutely. Now, if MCU hears this and decides to make Taylor Swift a new Avenger, I'm not going to be mad about it. I feel like
They
they
already
might
put
see a
Harry
boost
Styles
in
in.
their sales. I mean, see what happened, and that did wonders for their numbers. So I feel like if they just add Taylor Swift in there somewhere, you'll have a ton of Swifties entering the theater, and then now they'll just become uber nerds, just like they're all football nerds right now. So, yeah.
So yeah, I think that the strongest part of the Echo series is the representation of the Native American culture, and then deaf and disabled people. I thought those two elements of the show were absolutely the strongest. The story is a little bit thin towards the end,
Mm-hmm.
also a little bit rushed at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know my problems that I had with this? Because I saw the first, I think I started this before you did. And I was just like, I need you to watch this so I can complain. I think that's what I told you. Because the first episode, I was like, all right, we're off to a good start. And then it just was like, parts of it were like, boom, 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 boom. And then other parts were like really dragged out. And then again, we went boom, 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 boom. So it was just, it was a struggle bus the first episode for me. I think that they just put too much in it, but didn't explain parts that needed to be explained more. It was a mess.
Yeah, I think throughout the season, I think the pacing is probably the biggest issue. Like, yes, the story is thin. It's kind of like a little one act part of like a movie. Like they're trying to take out this ammunitions depot, and then Fisk comes and
Mm-hmm.
tries to get revenge for it. It's like, okay, that all makes sense. But the
Yeah.
pacing is the part that's all over the shop. Like the first episode tries to cram in her whole backstory, like how she was as a little kid, what happened to her parents,
Mm-hmm.
why she went to then live with Wilson Fisk, and then
Mm-hmm.
also like coming back and finding her reconnecting with her family in her hometown. And then episode 2
Yeah.
is basically just like the train sequence. And that's pretty
Yeah.
much
Episode
the whole
2,
part of that, the whole thing on that episode. It's like, okay.
that whole episode for me was almost pointless.
Yeah.
I could have honestly, we could have skipped episode 2 and just said, all right, we don't need this. We'll just go down to 4 episodes now, and we'll just like incorporate that little spot into like episode 2 or something. You know, like it wasn't necessary for an entire episode because there was just nothing to it. It was like a filler.
Yeah, all it was like her, she plants the bomb, and then episode 3, the bomb goes off. It's like, yeah, there was like a 10-minute sequence there that we could have just incorporated into episode 3 and made it 50 minutes instead of 45.
Yeah, like this whole show honestly just felt like you said, like it honestly felt like a side story in one of the Marvel movies. Like, hey guys, we're gonna go take care of this bad guy, and then Echo is on the other side taking care of like this bad guy and her family trauma. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that speaks to the Marvel spotlight.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean it is what it is. Episode 3 was where I had hope. Like I regained hope on episode 3 because that's when we actually started to see her in action, and I feel like that is when the MA rating probably came more into effect, other than the unfortunate shooting of Fisk in his eye. Spoiler alert. But yeah, like I feel like that was it. No, they don't even show it. They just show him pop up later on or whatever. But like,
it's not until the
you know,
skate rink where you like really start to see some of the violence. I guess in episode 1 we got the fight sequence that connects
with Daredevil,
connects the whole
her
series back to the Hawkeye season, but this time it's from Maya's perspective, not Hawkeye and Daredevil's perspective. And
episode 3, I was like, oh, finally, we're getting into something. Like, this will be great. And then it just, like, ended very abruptly.
It did end on a good cliffhanger, episode 3, though.
Yeah, it did. But it also has my favorite sequence in this entire show in it. And it's like the one thing that you and I both agreed on, which was her doing something on a pinball machine.
Yes. But what's I saying? Yeah, I think the cliffhanger in episode 3 is probably like the high point of the series, and then episodes 4 and 5 are kind of like, okay, we're just rushing to the ending now.
Yeah, it was. This show definitely is not one I will ever go back to. I'll put it that way, because it was just so messy. Like you said with pacing. Pacing is everything for me, because there were parts of this where I was just like, but then there were other parts where I was just like, oh, cool, something's happening, and it's just,
yeah. And the whole Daredevil cameo is very weird too, because in the lead up to the Echo release, Daredevil was pretty prominent in all of the sort of marketing and promotional material. It's like, okay, cool, this is going to be like how they bring in the whole Daredevil Marvel Netflix series. We're going to really incorporate all of that. It's going to kind of be like a back and forth between those two. And then in reality, he's on screen for less than 90 seconds.
Yeah, it was really a letdown for me, because I was like, well, if Kingpin is like the main character, like the main villain in this, then Daredevil should probably be in it more too, because they're like, it's like the thing. That's a thing.
Yeah, I guess the way they explain that away though is Daredevil is very New York based.
Yeah, and this is
you
know, back at home for her.
Yeah, remote rural Oklahoma, so it makes a lot more sense that Daredevil isn't involved. But like, yeah, Kingpin is like the thread that connects these all together.
Yeah, and it's a very loose, like the way that they did it was very, very loose. Like, I don't know.
Like, it kind of makes me wish this had been not so much an Echo series, but like, why haven't we got a Kingpin spin-off series?
To be fair, we haven't gotten any villain, minus Loki, but he's not a villain. He's a good guy. We haven't really gotten any other like villainous kind of shows though.
I guess they don't like, want to do that because, yeah, I guess then you run the risk of like people liking the villain, so then you can't defeat the villain.
Yeah, it kind of puts them on like that pedestal where, yeah, I get it. But yeah, it was just, yeah, I kind of wish that Daredevil had been in it more, but like I said, I understand why they didn't. They were trying to give her her own showcase and show about this stuff. But again, the storytelling of her whole like background and like her origin story and stuff like that with her family, that was even really hard to kind of follow, because they never fully explain it. It's just,
yeah, it's just
they
weird, like,
touch on it a little
parts.
bit. Yeah, and it's like they don't really explain like what it is, or like, how she's supposed to utilize it, or what makes it come out. And you don't understand why you're seeing all these flashbacks, other than the fact that it's like her relatives from past generations or whatever, I guess. But it's still a very hard to put together somewhat.
But we mentioned the fight sequences and action choreography. I thought they were another really strong part of the series.
Yes.
The action sequences are crazy. You mentioned the German suplex onto the pinball machine.
Yes.
I thought it was cool that it's like a Native American character, and they incorporated lots of like lucha fighting styles, like lucha libre fighting stuff in it. I was like, that's cool. We even got like,
that was fun.
Ray Phoenix in promotional tour.
Great, I saw that. I was like, that's interesting. I loved her little like slingshot thing that she made in the back room with like the
ball bearing gun.
That was like the best thing ever. I was like, geez, who the fuck thinks of those kind of things? But it's super savvy and shit.
Yeah, my note on that was, is she fucking MacGyver?
Yeah, for real. Like, give her a paperclip and a pair of scissors and you're done for, man. Like,
yeah. But yeah, like some of the violence was pretty gruesome. Like you mentioned, Fisk getting shot in the eyeball and somehow not dying. Okay.
Yeah.
But then like
his
eye is there. Like it didn't. He get like shot here.
It's like a scar.
Like
Yeah, it's like a
ricochet
star.
off his skull or something. It's like, what's this guy's skull made of?
Yeah, like yeah, it's weird. That whole whatever.
But then we also see people getting like shot in the back as they try to run away. They show blood, so that's definitely a thing that factored into the rating. Some people
Yeah.
some people getting killed with a ski ball, like the balls being just smashed off their face.
Yeah, that was pretty ingenious though. I liked it.
And then I think the most brutal one was the one of the goons in the fight sequence in episode 1 comes running at Maya. She like hits him with a drop toe hold and then just drives his face into the edge of like a metal desk. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
he's fucked
that
up.
was oof. Yeah, that was gnarly. Like oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, the action sequences were pretty good. Some of the CG was a little bit much for me, like that train, the whole train thing. Back to that was pretty fucking hard to watch, but that is what it is.
Yeah. And another pretty violent moment. Although they don't show too much of it, they just kind of show Fisk swinging punches and the blood splattering all over his white suit. And
Yes.
he attacks the ice cream man because the ice cream man is kind of like rude to little tiny
Maya.
Maya. And then,
Yeah.
and then we find out that she witnessed the whole thing, and that's where she sort of learns that violence is an appropriate response, apparently. And that
Yeah.
becomes like
I like how he
their
like
love
calls.
language.
I love how he just like picks up a phone. He's like, I need a new suit. I don't want her to see. Oh, never mind.
The weird part was he goes, I need a new jacket. And then it cuts to him and
Yeah,
it's all over his jacket and his shirt and his vest. I'm
and
like,
his face.
bro, you need a whole new outfit. Like, it's not just the
Yeah,
jacket.
it was a lot. And the only thing I can say is in that whole scene, like I kind of loved the fact that like when he was done and she saw everything, she just like walked up to him and kicked him too. Like,
Kicks,
you man.
kicks the ice cream man. Like, oh, okay, yep. She's already kind of fucked up by living with this guy.
To be fair, I was all for her doing that little. I mean, he went overboard, but I'm glad that she got like at least her little like dig into him because he was an asshole.
And I think that I can relate to why Maya is kind of angry with the world. Like, the dad gets murdered.
Mm-hmm.
Her mum dies in a car accident. So, like, I understand why she's angry with the world and, like, just fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want mentality.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the other crazy thing, the sign language interpreter at their family dinner.
Oh my god.
Just,
Dude, that poor woman, like being on payroll and then okay, you're dismissed.
yeah,
Like I don't need you anymore.
you're not just fired, you're dead.
Yeah, like
And they had like the
oh,
plastic wrap
okay.
all set up, ready to go, so they could just
All ready for
pop her in the back of the head, fall straight into the plastic, wrap you up, out you go.
wrap her. Yeah, that's insane to me. Absolutely nuts.
Oh, and the other thing I noticed with actually kind of the whole season in general, the color palette starts off very sort of muted and sort of grays and browns. And then as it progresses, as Maya sort of grows into her powers and her character and reconnecting with her heritage, we get a lot more like bright colors incorporating in, like more towards the sort of traditional Native American color scheme with the yellows and greens and reds and stuff.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah, it
that was
was
a cool
that is an
touch.
interesting thing. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but that is kind of cool, and I can see it now going through the episodes in my head. That is really interesting.
What else did we have? And then as her powers develop, like I think that's a pretty important point to touch on. I still not quite sure what her powers are, which I think is probably
Yeah, I'm
bad
not.
given we watched a 5-episode season of the show all about her
Yeah, we've gone
discovering her
through five
powers.
episodes. Yeah, we went through 5 episodes. All we know is that her hands glow. She melted metal on a train to like break something, and
Oh yeah, when her leg gets stuck.
Yeah, and then she, fucking made a flashback happen for Fisk, and then magically she's able to like empower her grandmother and her cousin together too. So it's like, what do you do? What are you actually doing? I'm so confused.
Yeah, I wrote down like obviously it's all linked in with like echoing with her ancestors, like drawing on their
Hmm.
strengths and abilities. But I
Yeah.
wrote down she has a healing ability, like they heal the bird, they can heal other people that get hurt. Um,
Yeah, because that was from her mom. Like they blatantly showed her mom like bringing that bird and healing it back.
yeah.
But like with Echo, it's like
Also,
hodgepodge of junk.
also that like shows that Maya was probably a little bit already fucked up before her mum died.
Yeah, she fucking slingshots that bird off a goddamn tree, and then she lies to her mom. Oh, it fell off the tree.
Yeah, so she's already a
Oops.
little bit suspect. But then yeah, she has the super strength where she like breaks through stuff, like pulls her leg out. The
Yeah.
connection with the ancestors kind of has the ability to alter the past. Like, did she stop Fisk from killing his own father in that flashback sequence?
I don't know. And I feel like she kind of just like made him like backtrack in it and feel like, or maybe give him the choice to make a better decision. But who knows if he actually did it or didn't, because that's never fucking explained. Because, of course, they want to make a season 2 or tie this in with a new season of Daredevil. Who the fuck knows? None of that was really fucking clear.
Yeah, because I was
But,
watching that. I was like, yeah, did she like alter the past and make him not kill his own father? And that's why he's so angry when he snaps out of it. Like, yeah,
that's what, yeah, he's like, what did you do? Like, how did you do that? Or what did you just do?
yeah.
Something like that. I don't know.
And then yeah, like you said, she empowers her cousin and grandmother. It's like, what are your powers? I'm still very
Yeah,
confused by.
that lady's like in her 80s and she's fucking like whooping ass for like, she takes on like 3 guys at one time. And I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, Hulk, calm the fuck down. Like,
And then like she can even like have conversations with her ancestors too. Like when she gets her the iconic like here's the super suit moment, she has like a full
yeah, she sees
conversation
her
with her mother.
mom.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah,
I
it's
just,
weird. Like she's almost watching this season. She almost gets into that awkward territory of Ms. Marvel, where it's like, is she just like the most powerful being in the universe? And somehow she's
mm,
a side character.
yeah, that's strange. Can we also talk about this random fucking rocket launcher that just launches into the air and then explodes like a firework? Because
Yeah, that's not how rocket
that's
launches work.
not what happened.
They're not on a timer.
That's not how that works.
It would just keep flying until it eventually came down and then exploded.
I was like, in what universe does this actually seem accurate?
Yeah. Yeah, rocket launchers aren't on a timer. It's not like you have to shoot them and be within a certain range.
Yeah, and the fact that he had the rocket inside a cooler with like soft drinks too, like nestled in ice and shit.
Yeah.
Like, worst henchman ever.
Apart from that though, I thought the like final action sequence was pretty cool. Like lots of action, lots of fight moments.
Mm-hmm.
Cool returns with the monster truck taking out the bad guys.
Biscuits is like the coolest character ever, and the fact that his name is Biscuits is even better.
But then the ultimate ending was like kind of flat. It was like, he's just she stopped Fisk and now he just leaves and goes home. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's strange.
And did you watch the post credit of episode 6?
Oh, no.
Uh,
5, you mean?
5. Yeah. I keep thinking it was 6, but they cut the 6th episode.
No.
So yeah,
No, I did not.
there is a post credit sequence with Fisk on his aeroplane on the way home watching the news, and they're talking about the mayoral race of New York City is like about to get to the conclusion. They're like, it's very late in the game for someone new to like throw their hat in the ring because neither of these candidates are that great. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get the impression that it's giving him the idea of, oh, maybe I should run for mayor of New York, and that way I can just do whatever I want.
Oh.
I think for me, that's probably what the Daredevil season that's coming up is going to be like. Him becoming mayor, having all this power, and then Daredevil having to like go in and stop all of the shenanigans that he's pulling.
Yeah. I had a really hard time. Let me just say, I had a really hard time when Maya was having that conversation with her. But he's like her uncle or something like that. When they're in like the overlooking tower or whatever, and she's just like
The
talking
water
about how like,
tower?
she wants. Yeah.
No, thank you. Don't like that sequence.
Why not? Oh, it was a fun sequence. I have no
So
problem with like the water tower
so
itself.
high.
It looks fun.
It's so high, and I had to
No, it's
climb
not.
up on the
It's not
outside of
right.
it.
Oh my god, you're such a pansy. Anyway, get out of here with your pansy ass.
I don't like heights.
No, I just that whole like conversation where she's just like really angry at the world, and she's like, "Oh, it's time for them to have a queen in town, this, and that." Like, it just felt like very forced. Like the dialogue itself, like the whole conversation, just seemed like a very forced conversation, like a very like generic kind of cliche moment, and it kind of made me mad a little bit because I don't know. I feel like her character was like such a stronger character. It was led up to be such a much more stronger character.
Yeah, I think the whole like arc is supposed to be her wanting to take over, like usurp the throne and take over Kingpin's role, and like she
Yeah.
tried to kill him and failed, so that's why she had to like get out of town, and then it followed her. It's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, it was fine. Like, I some of the things I did like were the augmented sign language device that Kingpin built.
The contact and the earbud thing. That was really cool, actually.
That thing's freaking cool. We need that in real life.
Yeah, like that is absolutely incredible. Like, imagine if they actually put something like that out there in the universe. Like, that would make things so much more like interesting and easy to like do.
Yeah, so much more accessible for people with hearing
Yeah.
impairment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to laugh at the slogan that was painted on the wall of the skating rink.
What I miss? Did I miss it, or am I just blinking?
They had "Make America Skate Again" painted on the wall.
Oh my god! Yes, I remember that because then the guy came flying through it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like, "That's great. I love that."
Yeah. That's funny as shit. Yeah, there was a lot of interesting things. I really liked of all the things that I appreciated in the show, I actually really liked the powwow sequence. Like the entire like ceremony that they were doing and stuff like that. Like that was actually really cool. I liked watching that and everything like that. And the fact that they also put like a thank you at the end of the episode for their participation and help with the show itself.
Yeah, all of the cultural representation, the deaf and disabled representation, I thought all of that, yeah, like I said, was the strongest part and so well done. Like very clearly, like respectfully done. Like it wasn't just,
Yes.
oh, we're just going to make this Native American character and just, we'll wing it. This is what we feel like it should be. Like it was actually pretty authentic.
Yeah, it was nice.
And then so looking to the future, this, even though it is this kind of interstitial side series that won't directly impact anything, it's leading into the Disney Plus series for Daredevil Born Again, which is slated for 18 episodes, meant to release next year. Not entirely sure how close that's going to be because I'm pretty sure they just started rewriting the entire thing. Which
we're probably looking at like late next year.
That suggests to me that what they had written was not good if they decided to start over.
Yeah, that's kind of concerning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine it was written pre-strike, and then now that they've following the strike, they changed a bunch of the way MCU production is occurring. Each show now has an overall showrunner that is supposed to look after it and make sure the entire season is cohesive. Whereas before it was kind of like
Mm,
they would have a writer for each episode and they would just go in and do their thing. And
and
they would
nothing would
what
work.
happened before and like try and link it. And it's like, at least now there's going to be, I think it all just, yeah, it was like, you write this episode, and then Kevin Feige was at the top of MCU, like the entire MCU pyramid, looking at
Mhm.
everything. So he was
Yeah.
linking things here and there, but now there's individual showrunners. Each season has that person at the top of it. Let's make sure the season is cohesive, and then
Yeah, that's a
that
lot
that
better.
person can converse with Kevin Feige to make sure that what their cohesive season is also links into the bigger story.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that's gonna go. I think it'll probably be a better thing in the long run, hopefully, because it did get really sloppy with some of these shows, and I think that's why a lot of them kind of fell flat with a lot of people. Um, so we'll just see. But if they had to go back and rewrite all of it, it's kind of a rough start.
Yeah, I'm assuming
Because
they brought in the showrunner who's then looked at it and gone, like, I know this doesn't flow properly. We need to fix that. And
yeah,
then also as part of that like reshuffle of how things are done, I think they've refocused on quality over quantity. Whereas like previously they were like, oh, we need basically something every month because it's all feeding into Disney Plus. Like we either need a show,
yeah, let's get
movie to
like
come out each month, and it was getting to that point where it's like we're rushing things and they're not necessarily the greatest.
yeah, no, things got really sloppy really quick, unfortunately, and that's what I think a lot of times greed will happen because they see something like that's doing really, really well, and then they just flop it after a while. And like, no offense, but it's kind of like what happened with the Star Wars universe in a sense, I feel. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
and they've done a similar thing where they've gone back to, okay, let's focus on quality over quantity.
Slow down, pump the brakes. Yeah.
Make sure what we're putting out is worth people's time and investment.
If they put out one solid movie and one solid show every fucking year, I think people would be happy. They would get exactly what they need. They would get their fix for each kind of little thing, and they could put out more quality kind of things versus just like half assing things and trying to make as much as possible.
And yeah, like put out, like we're seeing with this Daredevil Born Again, 18 episodes. Like put
Yeah,
out a long season because, like we said, Echo was the first time they've done the binge release model. Usually it's week to
right.
week. So yeah, if you're gonna put
Mm-hmm.
out, even if you don't go the full 18, like you go like 10
Yeah.
episodes, there's 2 months
9 or
worth
10 episodes.
two
Yeah.
months worth of content on the week to week release schedule. And then
Mm-hmm.
you maybe go a month, or like you do January, you do Daredevil. Say they miraculously get it out by January 2025. That gets you through to
Yeah.
March. March you can put out
Mm-hmm.
either a movie or something Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars, and then that gets you another 2 months leeway, and like that gets you to mid-year. Then you put out a movie, then you put out
Mm-hmm.
another show that gets you to sort of the fall period. You put out another
Yeah.
movie, and then you put out a show to close out the year. That's all you need. Like,
Yeah. And with shows like their side shows, like I know What If is one of those things that like people talk to me about all the time because it's a cartoon. I've never watched it, but I've heard that it's probably better than some of the other Marvel shows that have come out. So like even if they had like their animation studios working on something too, that obviously Star Wars had their version of animated shows, and I'm sure they could probably come up with another one.
yeah, and I guess that's the big flexibility that Disney have by having the Star Wars and um, the Marvel licenses. Like
Yeah, is that
you
they
don't
literally
need
have so
a
much
year's
versatility.
worth of Marvel content. You need maybe 6 months worth of Marvel content, and then the other six
Yeah,
months can be Star Wars content, and you just shuffle them around so that
Balance.
it's not like, oh, the start of the year is Marvel, the end of the year is Star
No.
Wars. Like you just mix them throughout the
Yeah.
season, and
They need a good balance.
then in between you drop in like a season of The Bear or a season of Welcome to Wrexham. Like it's
Or Pixar has a new movie come out.
yeah,
Who knows?
like it's possible
you
to
know,
do
like
the
there's
Disney
so much
streaming
stuff.
service without being like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we need a Star Wars show and a Marvel show every month, and then the movie, and then this. It's like, okay, this people don't have so much time as well.
Yeah. Like you said, I just got through watching the last part of the second season of Loki. Like, I just got sidetracked with other shit.
Yeah.
You know, like things happen.
So in terms of a rating for Echo, what would you give Echo's 5-episode season?
As bad as I don't want to do that because the acting was really, really well done, I'm gonna give this like a 2.5 because it was so rushed and there was so much that was like left out / unexplained, and for me it's like a 2.5. I don't think I'd go back to it, at least not to rewatch the first season. And if there is a second season of Echo, I don't know if I'd be chomping at the bit to like watch it ASAP.
Yeah, that's fair. I gave it a 3 purely on like Alakwa Cox's performance and the like cultural and disability representation elements and the action sequences. Like really for me, the only thing that let it down was pacing and sort of the depth of the story, but everything else I thought was really well done.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's not the worst thing that I've watched all year. Granted, we're only like 2 weeks in, but I've seen a couple bad things recently. So
I would say it's been stronger than some of the previous MCU stuff we've got. So that's a sign of improvement of how things are going.
Yeah, like if it were between this and She-Hulk, I'd watch Echo over She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So.
And I think because we know this is not necessarily feeding into the things, I think that helps this show. Like you watch it and you're like, okay, it makes sense. It's like this self-contained story. It doesn't necessarily have to feed into things. You're not looking for the Easter eggs and the breadcrumbs of like, oh, that's going to lead to this, that's going to lead to that.
Yeah, there wasn't any of those actually that I could notice.
Which is kind of like what She-Hulk was supposed to do, and really the only one that, for me, there was only one breadcrumb that came out of that, and it was Hulk and the like alien connection. Like, what the heck is that? And that's all we get out of that. And then the rest of the season was kind of like, oh, that was pointless. It achieved nothing.
Yeah, She-Hulk was just not my cup of tea. To be fair, I haven't seen, like, Loki has been my favorite Marvel show, honestly, because it's been consistent. But like these other ones, I just haven't been able to jive with. So
that's fair.
I don't know.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow Corrina on Instagram at Miss Corrina Renee, and you can follow me on social media at JamieUps Media and at Pario Magazine. The commentary booth is a fan-funded production of JamieUps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/JamieUps Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.